Welcome to Make It. I'm Jason Levine, and each week on the show, I'll be talking to talented creatives in video, music, and visual effects about what inspires them, what stumps them, and what makes them tick. Today, I have with me Billy Brooks, a visual effects supervisor who has worked for ILM, Sony, and DreamWorks. And coming up, Billy is going to show us some of his amazing science fiction VFX and how he made it. Well, Billy, thank you so much for joining me here today.
My pleasure.
I got to tell you, it's so awesome to finally get to talk to you in person. Now, I mean, there's so many things that we could talk about, and I wanted to really start with, well, first of all, you've been in the VFX industry for 21 years. You've done ILM, you've done Sony, you've done DreamWorks, and then you decided, I've had enough. These are like dream gigs. How do you decide to even change, and how do you sort of get out of that and start over and make something totally new?
Well, first, I don't ever take it for granted that I get these amazing opportunities. And the most important thing that I've seen and experienced through all these jobs are the people are just really good people. I met a friend who was working on a project called Space Station 76.
Okay.
And before he told me about it, I had him over to lunch at DreamWorks. So we were sitting down there and having lunch. And he said, yeah, I'm working on this project. I'm directing my first feature film, and it's called Space Station 76. I'm like, oh, that's nice. And then he said, yeah, it's kind of like Space 1999 meets blah, because I didn't hear anything after the Space 1999 part.
Right.
Because it's like one of my favorite shows of all time.
Right.
After I read the script and saw his sort of treatment for his website, they had stills from Space 1999 with Sears and Roebuck fashion from the 70s.
Right.
I loved it so much. So I got laid off from DreamWorks right in the middle of starting to shoot this movie.
Okay.
And I remember I was already so excited about doing something outside of DreamWorks because it was like I was scared,
Right.
but I was embracing the fear because something felt right about this. And I had done all these really cool things and, again, treasured every experience. But I like to do new things. I think it's part of my Gemini. I just get bored a little bit. So
right, okay.
I walked out there confident that this is exactly the thing that I need to do because I am a filmmaker. I'm a storyteller.
Right.
And in the visual effects world, we do that on a very small scale, especially at bigger studios because they're so complex and we have to do very specific parts of this process.
Sure.
So as a storyteller, I got that little sliver, and a lot of the creative storytelling sort of adventuresome nature that I have kind of atrophied a little bit. Because I was happy.
And you talked about this kind of creative atrophy and also this concept of the fear box. Because again, now you're going into VFX still doing Space Station 76, but the team is, it's much smaller, probably more demands on you. On the creative side, it's really stepping outside of what you've been used to for a long time. And it's obviously not with a lot of the benefits right away of working for a giant like DreamWorks or Sony.
Yeah, and that was interesting because that was sort of playing, that little soundtrack is playing in my head, but this other thing is like, oh my God, I've felt so free.
Right.
I made, I called friends and, I asked for help, both from visual effects artists and from companies to help, support an independent movie. And it was amazing because getting these friends that would work on the project with me, and they are just rock stars, and they also yearned for something different than their day job.
Right.
Everybody welcomes the chance to scratch that itch. So I was doing this for like 3 years because it was just, all these filmmaking desires had just they were dormant.
Right.
So the fear box I was talking about is like, most of the time when you're working in a job that you're comfortable with and you've got your, steady paycheck.
Sure, right.
And insurance, that's those are great things to have, but
not to be taken for granted.
No, not at all. Not at all. But it keeps you sort of here because I don't want to do things. I will sometimes betray who I actually am for fear of losing this.
Right. And can you really, you're only good at that. You're a VFX guy. So
and
that's
then
all
you
do.
think lesser than of yourself sometimes because, well, that person's doing this outside of this area, so they must be better than me.
Right.
And that's all imaginary, obviously.
Right, sure.
But I didn't know that until I started participating in Space Station, and that was an amazing experience. I was at Skywalker Sound, and the director, Jack Plotnick, he said at one point, whatever Billy wants, and walks out. So I'm actually leading the sound design.
It's those good connections,
Man,
right?
I tell you what, that was just an amazing Skywalker sound.
And this is something that you actually said, thus the upward spiral of greatness began.
So Space Station was sort of the impetus for so many wonderful things, because everything that came after that was attached to Space Station somehow. You meet all these people, and they're really fun and good people. And then that led to a couple of projects that were a lot of fun through like the post-production supervisor, Alex Kuna. And then about 2 years ago, he said, hey, I'm working on this show called Con Man. I'm like, never heard of it. It's Alan Tudyk and Nathan Fillion, and who I love, obviously. They were making this series, and Alex Kuna said, hey, I want you to meet with these guys. So I get there, and in the interview, I didn't even have a demo reel because I hadn't had time to do it. And I knew that Alan liked Space Station 76. He was a fan of it, so I had a T-shirt in my bag. After the interview was over, I'm like, hey, I hear you like Space Station 76. Not a bribe. Not a bribe.
Right. We've talked so much about this, dude. How about we actually take a look at some of the amazing stuff you've done? Because you brought a reel today, right?
I did.
Today you did bring the reel.
I did. I did bring the reel. I need a nap first.
Okay. All right, let's take a look at some of Billy's work. All right, Billy, so I thought maybe we would start sort of chronologically, and you could start with some of the stuff that you did for Space Station 76 and really showcase not only the creative brilliance behind the work you did, but also you've got like sort of before and after, seeing how these things were built up and how you really, leverage all that you know in VFX.
Yeah, this is the space station from Space Station 76, and the style of this is 70s sci-fi pre-Star Wars.
Right.
Kubrick, very long, slow shots.
Yes.
So that's the space station, and that was rendered in many layers and put together. I think there's some After Effects. There's definitely some After Effects stars. I think Star Pro we're using in the background there, and I modeled those after the 2001 stars.
Right. Very nice.
So this next shot is Matt Bomer welding, and this is all an After Effects shot actually. There's only an LED on the canvas, on the wand there. It's supposed to be, because we can't have an open flame.
Right, sure, of course.
Buzzkill. So this is all particular from Trap Code.
For the sparks and everything?
The sparks and the metal, actually, the heated metal that's actually cooling off, and you see the glows.
I love that, right? You see it kind of dissipate away.
I'm actually sitting behind this canister with a strobe light because no one provided me with interactive light. And I'm saying, if we don't have it, it's not going to sell a shot. But now, since I said that, you can see there's interactive light on his face. So I timed the sparks and the flares to the me.
Brilliant.
Yeah. So this is season 2 of Con Man. I really kind of wanted to ramp it up even further. Right. So this one is an all CG shot with hundreds of thousands of trees. And we got our friends at Ironclad to model the environment. I painted maps to where the trees were going to be when they're instanced. Right. And so, of course, it's Photoshop. Right. This is one of my favorite sequences. So our character, Ray, is in this deadly, just like crazy over-the-top obstacle course. And he's avoiding all these fire. You call these the fire tires. Right. And it was interesting because I was working with Catherine, our production designer, on the deadly traps in this maze. Right. Because if I'm involved with it from the beginning, I knew I could probably do an effect that would have a nice payoff if I'm involved creating what the gag is. Right. So I'm like, let's do fire tires. I'm like, okay, great. So then we used elements of fire and kind of faked all the interactive lighting, and I'm going to play it back, and then you'll see what was actually shot. So this is the final shot, and some smoke from particular. This is actually what we shot, and there was nothing there. Right. So, and the other thing is, Alan's
even the black smoke, right?
Yeah. The black smoke is particular again, and just a little kiss of that in there. And we just animated the fire and smoke to Alan's performance. These are another sequence of shots of the blades of Damocles, and one of the key things that was so helpful for us is the Rotobrush tool. Because
you mentioned this because this is not green screen.
Yeah, it's like the first AD was very intense. So it's like go. I'm like but, and I'm like screw it, we'll just Rotobrush it. And I've shown this tool to senior visual effects artists, and they're like, well, what?
Right.
And it's like science fiction because the hair, Alan, it's so close to the color behind it, and we just use the Rotobrush. And this is actually one of my favorite shots from Con Man. And these were doors purchased off Turbo Squid that were rigged, and we animated them to close because there were no double doors on set that day. Oh my God. So this is all green screen.
That's unbelievable.
In the show this year, Ray Nearly, Alan's character, is shooting a Astro cereal commercial.
Right.
So these are digital satellites that hit him because he's pissed off the stunt guy and he's being purposely hurt by the stunt guy.
Right.
So they're throwing in these big, giant satellites, but actually what we shot on set was just a bag to hit him. And it was very lightweight and it doesn't look like it hurt. So what we did is we replaced it with a chunky satellite, but then we warped his body, right? So his helmet's jockling.
Yeah, his body motion is different between the two shots.
Right. So and we used it was all done with the After Effects warping tools.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is one of Alan's favorite shots because it looks like it hurt so bad.
So now we're going to do a little segment on the show called What's in Your Bag? And Billy, I know you're like a huge tech guy, and I'm always curious because I lug around a ton of stuff, hard drives and a Bose speaker and a bunch of nonsense. What's in your bag, dude?
One thing I carry with me is a Ricoh Theta. Theta S, actually. I actually use this to create HDRs on set. This pre-stitches it, and there's a software that we have on the iPhone that does 19 exposures.
Okay.
So this actually is enough to get me my HDRs.
Nice.
And I love this thing. This is a great product.
Awesome. What else have we got?
We have a GPS tracker. So
for the bag?
For the bag. Yeah, so
Makes
whenever
sense.
the bag
Makes
moves,
sense.
I get an email, and then I can track it because I travel a lot, and especially if you're on set, bags move, and I want to know about it.
Right.
And where are you, bag?
Right.
Then I have my Gear VR.
Okay.
I've become very active in the VR and virtual reality AR. So showing off renders I've done in Octane in the stereo QMAT format is pretty outstanding on this device. All right, so then I have my
the bag of cables.
In here you have flash drives, you have card readers, you have the mini display port. There's a first aid kit in there, and a sewing kit and HDMI cable.
Kind of like the Mary Poppins bag.
It is. It's like this is
lighting
a TARDIS
rig
on the inside.
Yeah,
but
right,
so this is very important for me, and I hate disarray.
Right.
And what I usually I have my. What do you call this? This is an iPad. No, this is not an iPad.
No, that's a
this is
physical writing
first-gen iPad
device.
And I actually use this
to
writing stuff down helps with remembering things, as we all know. So, and I think that's it.
Billy, I can't tell you how awesome it's been having you on the show today. We thank you so much, and we are so grateful.
Thank you.
That you could grace us with your presence and your stories and your wisdom and really inspiring people to just want to make something, to go out there, break outside of the fear box.
Yeah, no fear, man.
Right?
No,
just go
do
for it. Yeah, and it's been such a pleasure meeting you. So thank you so much for joining us. Hope to see you again here.
Absolutely.
And we want to remind everybody to tune in. Every week we'll be talking to new creatives right here on Make It. Thanks so much for watching, and we will see you again next time.